Yield, the harvest of maturity and Pearl Jam's rediscovery. The year 1996 had left deep marks on Pearl Jam. The sparse and logistically complex tour for No Code, combined with the exhausting and fruitless battle against the giant Ticketmaster, had drained the band's energy. The previous album, although artistically exploratory and eventually certified platinum, did not achieve the stratospheric sales of its predecessors and was received with a certain coldness by the public and critics, reflecting a period of sonic introspection and, inevitably, some internal tensions. The weight of stardom, the almost messianic responsibility imposed on Eddie Vedder after Kurt Cobain's tragic death, and the band's own insecurity in the face of such overwhelming success created an environment of uncertainty. "Are we five great musicians?" Stone Gossard questioned in an interview with the New York Times at the time, revealing the vulnerability behind the facade of one of the biggest bands on the planet. "We're just a mediocre rock band of white guys who could play really well together and had some ideas for songs. We have something special, and we have a great singer, but there was a long time in the band of feeling insecure about the fact that we sold so many records." Faced with this scenario, a crucial meeting took place. "We got together and asked ourselves, do we still want to be a band?" admitted guitarist Mike McCready. The answer was a collective yes, but conditioned on a change of direction. It was necessary to get off the road for a while, redefine priorities, and fundamentally rediscover the pleasure in music and coexistence. The seed for Yield was planted there, in the decision to change the internal dynamic. Eddie Vedder, who until then had centralized much of the lyrical and decision-making process, proposed a more collaborative approach. He encouraged other members to bring more developed songs, not just fragments, seeking to alleviate his own creative burden and revitalize the team spirit. The suggestion was embraced by everyone. "Everybody took it seriously," confirmed bassist Jeff Ament, who felt the new dynamic energized the group and reaffirmed each one's role.
The recording sessions for Yield, which extended throughout 1997, reflected this new philosophy. Working again with producer Brendan O'Brien in what would be their last collaboration for more than a decade, at Litho Studios, Gossard's, and Studio X in Seattle, the band found an environment described by Ament as super fun. Vedder, more relaxed and receptive, dedicated himself to working on his companions' ideas before focusing on his own, which, according to McCready, dissipated the tension he previously felt towards the vocalist. "I used to be afraid of him, felt like I was always walking on eggshells," McCready revealed to Guitar World. "Now, we talk more, hang out together. He seems very, very centered now." This renewed partnership resulted in a more fluid and structured process. The songs arrived at the studio more well-defined, allowing for contouring and enhancement work, as Gossard described. The band dedicated time to rehearsals and the search for the ideal sound and feeling for each track, as drummer Jack Irons recalled. For the first time, Jeff Ament contributed lyrics, signing Pilot and Low Light. "Seeing Eddie put his heart into singing lyrics that I wrote was an experience I can't describe in words," Ament confessed. Stone Gossard also brought his lyrics to No Way and All Those Yesterdays.
Yield marked a conscious return to the more direct rock energy of the first albums, like 10 and V's, but without abandoning the depth and subtle experimentation explored in No Code. There was, according to O'Brien, a deliberate effort to create more accessible songs, resulting in what Stephen Thomas Erlewine of AllMusic would call the most cohesive and accessible album Pearl Jam has made since 10. The lyrics, although still contemplative, reflected a newly discovered maturity. Vedder spoke about expressing energy in a calmer way, seeking solutions instead of just pointing out problems. In the past, we would say, "This sucks, that stinks, that's crap, everything's crap." Now it's time to say, "Stop, let's look for a solution, let's be positive." This search for meaning and transcendence permeated several tracks. Literary influences were present. Mikhail Bulgakov's novel The Master and Margarita inspired Pilot. The philosophical reflections of Daniel Quinn's Ishmael echoed in Do the Evolution. And Charles Bukowski's writing set the tone for In Hiding. Given to Fly, the future first single, was born from a McCready riff during a period of isolation caused by a snowstorm in Seattle, transforming into an ode to overcoming and freedom, with a crescendo structure reminiscent of Led Zeppelin's Going to California. Do the Evolution emerged as a scathing critique of human arrogance and blind faith in technology. Wishlist explored the duality of desire in a direct and moving ballad. Amon saw Pilot as a reflection on a reoccurring dream, and Low Light as the response, a moment of gratitude for the inner peace found.
The album title itself, Yield, encapsulated this philosophy. Also inspired by Daniel Quinn's Ishmael, a book that circulated among band members during the recordings, the title suggested the idea of yielding to nature, to circumstances, to maturity itself. Maybe it's about being more comfortable within ourselves, a little older and relaxed, maybe yielding to those anxieties and not trying to fight them so much, McCready reflected. For Vedder, it was about recognizing the battles that really matter and remembering what drives the music. The visual representation of this idea came through Jeff Emmen's iconic photograph for the album cover, a desolate and beautiful image of Montana Highway 200, an empty road under a vast blue sky, with a solitary yield sign on the right. The irony, as Emmett pointed out, was having a yield sign where there was apparently nothing to yield to, a symbol of voluntary surrender, not imposed. The artwork, which earned a Grammy nomination for Best Packaging, also featured the mirrored image in the booklet and small hidden signs in the cassette version.
Even before the official release, Yield was already generating buzz. In December 1997, Syracuse's WKRL-FM radio played an advanced copy of the album, which quickly leaked onto the internet, a harbinger of the challenges the music industry would face in the digital age. Epic Records, however, invested in more robust promotion than was done for No Code, feeling they finally had time to do the job right, in the words of marketing vice president Steve Barnett. The first single, Given to Fly, was an immediate success on rock radio, but the major promotional milestone was the animated music video for Do the Evolution, created by renowned comic book artist Todd McFarlane. It was the band's first official video since 1992, breaking a long self-imposed hiatus. The dark and satirical animation, which criticized humanity's destructive trajectory, earned Grammy and VMA nominations, becoming an instant classic.
Released on February 3, 1998, Yield debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200, blocked only by the phenomenon of the Titanic soundtrack. It was Pearl Jam's first album since 10 not to debut at the top, but its trajectory proved to be more consistent than that of No Code, surpassing it in long-term sales and earning platinum certification in the United States. The second single, Wishlist, also performed respectably, while tracks like In Hiding and Do the Evolution ensured constant presence on rock radio. Critical reception was mostly positive. Rolling Stone praised the album's cohesion and Vedder's mature frankness. AllMusic celebrated the sound of a reinvigorated band. Spin, in its March 1998 review, captured the essence of the record, speaking of Vedder communicating again the spiritual influence of Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, the renewed weight of rock, and the gracefully ambivalent anthems. Yield was seen as a return to form, but also as a step forward, the consolidation of a band that had learned to balance its roots and its ambitions, its fury and its serenity.
The 1998 tour marked Pearl Jam's return to big stages and a more extensive schedule. It was also during this tour that a significant change occurred. Drummer Jack Irons, whose presence had been fundamental to the rhythmic cohesion of Yield, left the band due to health problems. In his place, Matt Cameron, then drummer of the recently dissolved Soundgarden, was recruited, who would quickly integrate and become a permanent member. The Yield sessions also generated some tracks that didn't make the final cut, but found their way as B-sides or on later compilations. Leatherman, a tribute to a 19th-century wanderer, became the B-side to Given to Fly. Ooh, a rawer track, accompanied the Wishlist single and was re-recorded for the Rarities collection Lost Dogs 2003. This same collection brought Whale Song, an atmospheric piece sung by Jack Irons. Another song from the era, Happy When I'm Crying, was released on the fan club's 1997 Christmas single.
Looking in retrospect, Yield represents more than just Pearl Jam's fifth studio album. It's a milestone of maturity, a turning point where the band, after years of turbulence and self-questioning, rediscovered its balance and its joy in making music together. It solidified a more collaborative dynamic that would endure for years and delivered a set of songs that, while perhaps less explosive than the anthems of the grunge era, demonstrated depth, resilience, and a new form of intensity. For many fans, as evidenced by the Yield rock anecdote reported by Stereogum, the album transcended music, becoming a symbol of devotion and a testimony to Pearl Jam's ability to yield, evolve, and finally flourish.